Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be my favorites for the month of June, and a lot of it is very colorful stuff. June is a Pride month, and I really wanted to make sure that I was using a lot of my colorful makeup. Now, I realize I wear a lot of bright makeup in general. In June, I always want to make a specific effort to wear as much color as possible, just because I really love the vibe of Pride month. So, starting off with eyeshadow palettes, because that's where my love in makeup is. The Viseart Editorial Brights. I have mentioned this before in many videos before, just because I love it so much. It is a rainbow palette. They are all matte shades, and I am wearing the purple and pink on my eyes today. But I go back to this palette constantly. Whenever I need a vibrant color that is going to work really well with all of my other eyeshadows or glitters, I go back to this guy. I have put together so many color combinations throughout June that involved this palette that just really made me happy. There was one where I had a really neon green lid. It was glitter mostly over top, but one of these green shades was underneath it. And then I put the blue on the outer corner. The one I'm wearing today does have the pink through the upper crease, the purple on the outer corner, and then all over the lid as well, but then I packed a glitter on top of that. And that method is pretty much how I really like to use this palette. I feel like it works best in combination with other palettes or with glitters. So I know this sucker is expensive. I think I paid 80 bucks for it at an IMATS because it was at a discount price. It is 100 Canadian and I think 80 US, which is a lot of money, but I've gotten so much use out of this that if you can swallow that price tag, it is definitely worth the money spent. Now the next palette is a colorful palette, but it's one I kind of struggled with because I don't know, when I got it, I wasn't really sure what to do with it. I was so excited to get the Too Faced Clover palette because I think it's one of Too Faced's most colorful launches to date. I mean, the outer packaging is cute, but the shadows on the inside, I really think it's their brightest palette. So I was like, okay, absolutely, I can't wait to get it. And then I got it and I was like, I don't know what to do with you. I feel like the color layout in here is really detrimental to putting together eye looks. Like, I don't feel like it looks very cohesive, but when I actually sat down with the palette, and for whatever reason that turned out to be this past month, I liked what I came up with, but I had to put a little bit more thought into it. So I ended up putting together color combinations that I would otherwise never have thought to do. So I had the blue on the lid with this sort of like blue-brown pigment on the outer corner and through the crease. I used the pinks in the middle quite a bit, and I do remember using the yellow and the green in other looks, but I can't remember exactly how I worked them together. There are a lot of neutral colors in this palette, which I think is potentially the off-putting part. The neutrals in here are very warm, I would say, and then the colors tend to be on the cooler side of things. So it's a weird mixture between neutral warm and then colorful cool. They don't tend to really go together, so I feel like the palette is a little bit of a mishmash, but if you actually sit down and work with it, you can get eyeshadow looks that you really like out of it. So for whatever reason, I challenged myself to use this palette a lot this past month, and I did find I really liked it, but I definitely had to think about it a little bit more than normal. And honestly, being challenged with a palette is not a bad thing. It makes me think about color in a different way because I can get really stuck in my color combinations. Like, I tend to pick two colors that are side by side on the color wheel and use that as an eye look. You'll see me often do like a green and a blue, or a purple and a pink, or an orange and a red, just because it tends to be easier to blend the colors together. So I kind of like when I get challenged, although sometimes I'm like, I just want to be able to do an easy eye look. So I did appreciate having to think a little bit more about my eyeshadow this past month when I used that palette. This was not intentional, but I do also have two Too Faced bronzers to talk about this past month. The first one I was using a ton throughout the beginning of the month, and that was their Sweetie Pie bronzer. I remember liking this when I first tried it out, but for whatever reason I didn't reach for a ton throughout the winter, and I don't really know why. I don't think it's that particularly deep of a bronzer, so it's not like using it in the summer makes more sense. But oh, I know what it is. This bronzer is very peach tone. Makes sense, it's in the peach collection. But I found I don't wear a ton of peachy coral looks in the winter and in the cooler months, generally because I'm going for like icier colors. So throughout June, I was wearing a ton of coral colors on my lips, on my cheeks, and I just wanted a bronzer that was going to play into that. So this bronzer is perfect for that. It is a gorgeous bronzer, but you will find that it does lean a little bit more on the coral peach side, which again, was great for all those eyeshadow looks that I was putting together or whatever I had on my lips. So I really enjoy using this. I don't love the peach scent in this as much as I enjoy the sweet peach scent, but I mean, it's still pleasurable. So I was reaching for this one a lot throughout the beginning of the month, and then throughout the second half of the month I started reaching for the Unicorn Tears bronzer. Now this one turned out to be kind of funny. So I do like it, but it surprised the hell out of me one day when I got to look at myself in full-on sunlight with this bronzer on, and I had like little shimmery particles everywhere. So the inner highlight, that's the unicorn head, is quite sparkly, and I didn't really realize that until I saw it in sunlight. So if you swipe your brush through the whole thing, as I'm apt to do, you will end up with a little bit of iridescent shimmer in your bronzer. So if you don't want that, you can't really swirl your brush in the whole thing. You have to stick to the sides of the pan. So what I would recommend doing if you don't want a ton of that blue, purple kind of shimmer glitter going on in your bronzer would be stick to the outer edges, because there's none of that sort of shimmery sparkle in there. Apply your bronzer that way, and then if you want a little bit of the shimmer, like tap your brush into there and then like dab it on, because if you swirl it in the whole thing, you're gonna get a lot of shimmer glitter, which I don't necessarily mind, but I hadn't been expecting it. So I was like, woo, it was a little bit of a surprise that day. So I did find that on days where I wanted the shimmer, it was usually when I was wearing like a cool toned eyeshadow look, because I felt like it worked really well together. But if it was on a day where I was wearing something a little bit warmer, I would just stick to the outer edges. It is beautiful, but I think people definitely need to be aware of that glitter aspect. I mean, they're not chunks of glitter, but it was definitely more than I was expecting, and for whatever reason, it only really comes out in the sunlight. So those were the two bronzers that I've been using throughout the month, and Unicorn Tears is definitely quite a bit darker than Sweetie Pie, which is just something to keep in mind depending on your skin tone. The next item I've been using a ton, and I don't really know why, is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit in Aurora. Now I picked this up in IMATS New York in 2017, and I got it because it hadn't been launched in stores yet, and it was like brand new for IMATS, and I was super excited because I love her glow kits, yada yada yada. And I got it and I was like, eh. I posted a blog review on it, and I just remember my overall impression of it was kind of like, it's fine, but I don't feel like it's totally necessary in my collection. And then for whatever reason, I just started using it a ton in June. I have gone back to this palette so many times trying to love it throughout the last year, and I've never really fallen head over heels for it. But for whatever reason, the last month I was wearing eyeshadow looks that I felt like one of these highlighters was totally necessary to enhance the look. I particularly love Lyra down here, which is a beautiful orange with a bit of a pink in it, and then Eclipse over here, which is a little bit more of a peach with maybe a little bit of a hint of pink. I've even used Spectra, which is a bizarre color. It's not really what anybody would ever consider a flattering highlighter color. It's kind of like a purple with a gray shift to it. Most people would look at that color and be like, I'm not gonna wear that as a highlighter, but I really enjoy how that plays out on the skin if you're wearing it with like appropriate eyeshadow colors. And then Helia down here, so cool. It's like a green with a yellow gold shift to it. So freaking pretty. And I don't know why I'm so enamored with this palette now, because I've had it for a year and a half and I've not been that impressed with it, but I've fallen in love with it finally. I'm glad I own it, because I tell you what, I was just like nonplussed by it when I first got it, and now I'm in love with it. So I'm really happy to have this. You can buy this in stores currently, which is great. And honestly, I've seen this in like the discount bin at like Winners or HomeSense, no, not HomeSense, Marshalls. It's oddly there all the time, I think for like 20 or 25 bucks, so you can get this cheaper if you're looking for it. I don't think it was a huge seller, which is why it's in those discount bins, but it's still available at Sephora as well if you are interested in this palette. One highlighter that I've been loving so much is a loose product, which is a pain in the ass to use, but it's the Wet n Wild Moon Tears loose highlighting powder from their Gothographic collection. Loose powders are not fun because they basically dust up everywhere, and I'm gonna dump this everywhere, I just know it. But there's so much product in where the sifter is that I basically end up using what's in my lid. But this color is just beautiful. It's that, I don't know, it looks very yellow in the pan, but if you swatch it out, it just becomes this perfect shimmer that is so gorgeous on the cheekbones. I do have to remind myself to use this because I'm not inclined towards using loose powders just because they cause so much mess. But if you can get over that, or if you really like loose highlighting powders, you need to check this thing out. It is limited edition and I hope it's still available in stores, but it's one of the prettiest highlighters I think I own. Every time I put this on my cheeks, I'm just like, oh, why are you so stunning? Yeah, it's just, well, the more I buff it out, the prettier it gets. This thing is wonderful. If you can get your hands on it, pick it up. And the last two items I have to talk about are two lipsticks by Clinique. And the only reason that I'm even using these is because I reorganized my makeup collection and kind of put these in the to think about pile, as in I'm not sure if I want to keep you. So these are the Clinique Pop Glaze Sheer Lip Colors plus primer, but I would never use these as a primer. I have Sprinkle Pop here and Licorice Pop. These are mostly a sheer lip color that feel like a balm on the lips, but they're not a sticky balm. So it's mostly, honestly, I would classify it kind of like a glaze color on your lips. This one looks super intense. I mean, this looks like dark, but it comes out on the skin so just sheer. So there you go. There's the color. Like, it does not look how strong it looks in the bullet. Beautiful, beautiful color. And they're just so easy to wear because I don't always want a heavy lip color when it's hot outside because it just, ugh, it's too much product really. So this one is Sprinkle Pop and it's a little bit more of a magenta pink in comparison to Licorice Pop. I find these so comfortable to wear. The wear time is not super long like a liquid lipstick, but you will get like 2 to 3 hours of wear before you need to reapply these. They also wear off extremely well. So if you're eating or drinking, you don't really have to be worried about having a horrific lip line as like the inner rim of your lipstick comes off. They just come off like they're a balm, which is wonderful. So I can't recommend these enough. They're comfortable to wear, they're easy to wear, and they're just really nice feeling on the lips, which in the heat of the summer, that's what I want. All right, so that is all of my favorites for June. There was quite a few products in there actually. I really like that a lot of it is so like colorful and vibrant because that's what the summer is to me. I want to see as much color as possible. Thank you so much for joining me today and I will see you next time. Bye.